Hello viewers, welcome to Talk with Scholars Edition 2. I'm Maria, representing IEEE Computer Society Kerala section, Women in Computing. And today we have with us an esteemed speaker, Ms. Supriti Vijay, a fourth-year computer science engineering undergraduate at Manipal Institute of Technology. A scholar and an AI enthusiast, she has had numerous publications in top AI conferences like EMNLP, AAAI, CFML, ICML, and has interned with prestigious organizations like A-Star Laboratory, Singapore Adobe Research, and University of Copenhagen. I welcome you, Ms. Supriti Vijay.
Thank you for that introduction, Maria. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So moving on with, before moving on to the questions, we are expecting viewers of all kinds, from students who are very well aware of the scholarship and to students who are just stepping in. So for them, could you please give us an introduction about Adobe Women in Tech Scholarship?
Yeah, sure. So the Adobe Women in Tech Scholarship is a scholarship that is offered by Adobe India. And so first of all, there are two kinds of scholarship. There's one that's offered globally and one that is specifically offered to empower women in India. It's an amazing opportunity in order to create gender equality in STEM fields. And it's to encourage women to probably showcase their excellence in the STEM fields and to basically empower them to become future leaders in the field. So basically, the scholarship covers, it's an amazing opportunity because it covers tuition funds for your fourth year. It gives you an opportunity for a summer internship at Adobe, and as well as the fact that you get mentorship from senior leaders at Adobe and an entire um, funded travel to the Grace Hopper conference that is held in India. So not only this, I think it gives you a chance to be recognized at an international platform and a chance to be to showcase and help other women in tech and in the field.
How did you come to know about the scholarship, and what was that one major factor that led you to applying to the same?
Right. So I came about this internship because I was kind of looking for any kind of scholarships or women in tech, probably internship opportunities in general. So in the starting of my second year, I created this repository with the help of another computing it's a computing organization in my college. I think a lot of people are aware of this, the ACM, the Association for Computing Machinery, Women's Edition. So basically, we created this repository, a GitHub repository for all of these opportunities for women in tech. It contains research internships and scholarships. And like while doing research in order to help other people, I ended up finding about a lot of these scholarships and research internships that were open not only for women, but for basically everyone around. So like for undergraduate students in like especially. So basically, while going through this entire thing, I noticed that the Adobe Women in Tech scholarship really aligned with my own interests and with my vision in order to help and empower other women in technology. So I applied to this. Now I'm going to be very frank with you here because like other women in tech, I don't know other women, but me in general, I'm a bit like less confident on my skills, at least before. I felt really I didn't really feel like I was going to get this scholarship because it was like only 6 people in India get this, and I definitely thought that there are other people who are way more successful and probably who are way more determined and perseverant than me. But I think it just comes with like a lack of confidence in your skills. But I did apply because I just thought like what the hell, I'll just go ahead with it and probably see what happens. If I get it, then it's okay. Then it's like amazing. But if I don't, but at least I tried. So I didn't want to be regretful over there, remorseful about the fact that I missed on an opportunity. So I did apply. And I think that's one of the advices that I'm going to give every single woman over here is that apply for opportunities even if you think that you're not going to get in, because at least you tried for it and you never know what happens, to be honest.
So you talked about ACM, if I'm right. Can you tell
Mhm.
more about that? Because
Yeah.
in Kerala, I don't think it's that common over here. So what kind of exposure did you get in ACM?
All right. So we have an ACMW chapter in my college, and basically it's a small group of women, of like undergraduate girls coming together, supporting each other in their journey. We have like mentorship programs in itself. We have research group programs. It's just women supporting women in the end, because it's important to be able to connect with other women in the team and like in college. You don't realize that even though people still feel, I think a lot of my classmates even feel this, that right now there are so many internship programs and a lot of programs that are trying to empower women, but you don't realize how lonely you feel in a male dominated industry. So having other women supporting you throughout this entire journey makes it less scary for you, and it makes you feel as if like you're not alone in this journey. So it's just a women supporting women group. I think it's important for every single college to have this, because not only like a lot of your struggles are very similar to your seniors and other people in that particular group. So having someone to talk about like struggles that are going on gives you a chance to look at things in a different perspective, first of all, and like it gives you a sort of like support through your entire journey. So yeah.
So moving on, for people who are completely new to this scholarship, would you please tell us about the application process? Like, what are the different levels or rounds?
Right. So first of all, I think I skipped the eligibility of this. Only so basically, Adobe India Women in Tech Scholarship is open to like an Indian female citizen student, and you should be enrolled in your third year of your BTech degree. If it's a 4-year program, if it's a 5-year program, I think a fourth year student also works. I'm not sure about this, but yeah. Um, and I think you should major in like streams of computer science, information science, data science, electrical electronics, and math and computing. And another thing is that you can only apply to one of the scholarships. I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier. Either you apply to the Adobe India with scholarship, or you apply to the Adobe Global with scholarship. So these are certain of the eligibility criteria that are stated at the website. Another thing is that moving on to the application process, a few things that you would require is letter of recommendation from a professor. Like during my time, this is what the application process was. I'm not sure if they changed it, but it's just better to just go through that from the website just in case. But I'll probably elaborate more on my own experience. So during my time, the application process consisted of letter of recommendation from a professor that I took a college course from, and it contained we had to submit a resume and a few essays. I think there were like 5 questions that were given, and we were supposed to answer them with I think only 250 words or like 200 words. We had to also submit our academic transcripts, and yeah, I think that was what the application process consisted of. But I think I'll probably elaborate more on all of this, I think, the further questions. But yeah.
So, as I said, essays seem like a key step determining the fate of the application. So, what tips would you like to give the aspirants regarding the essay?
Right. So when we're talking about essays, I think one of the things that all of us think is that it should be, I'm just going to talk about a few of the misconceptions first. So the first thing that comes with the word essays is that it should be like, written in um, very fluent English. It should be either written in a way that like the others would probably marvel at, oh my God, this kind of essay really impressed me. And other thing that could happen is that it should, like, people think that it should go about like trying to, you can just write anything over there and people wouldn't know. It could be something fake. It should not be like related to your own experience, because you're trying to impress them in the end, right? A lot of people, these are all misconceptions in the field, because this is not how you're supposed to structure your essay. First of all, it doesn't matter whether you write it in fluent English or not. It should it should, first of all, it should embody you and your personality. You should be able to describe your experiences. You should be able to describe your um, your journey through life through a women in STEM, and you should talk more about what your interests are and how you would want to probably bring forward the journey of other women in technology, and how would you empower them as well? Because I think representation is also a key key factor when it comes to being a woman in tech. If you see another women out there at a high paying tech job, and not only that, at like a position at that only probably males have taken in the past couple of years, I think it gives you that sense of confidence that if she could do it, then probably you can too. So you should have that sense of like probably you should probably, I think, bring out the sense of women empowerment that you have in your essays. And another thing that I would talk about would be probably when you're structuring your essays, it should talk about how you are as a person. It should not, you should not fake your experiences. Do not think that the interviewer would want something to impress on. So you're writing things that probably wouldn't have come true. If you stay true to yourself, I think it shows more about your personality. And I think a lot of like probably who have also thought about the same thing. So stay unique, stay stay different from the crowd, stay distinct. And I think that's one of the advices that I would give. Second is that sometimes people try to structure it kind of essay in a way that instead of being clearly and like very concise, they would rather beat around the bush before going into the exact point. So I would say stay concise as much as possible. You do not need to write about a lot about what actually happened in the scenario, but try to explain it in a much more brief manner. And try to either way talk about how you can improve on that particular situation, or try to talk more about the skills you inculcated instead of talking more about the situation. So I think that would be my advice.
Because even when we see a lot of YouTube videos regarding uh, you know um, essays, most of the people, like when it comes to college, like let's say a college essay for your admission, most of the people who say I got into the college because of this essay, they tend to put forward it as a story, like it goes more like a story. They started something eye catching and then they go into the topic. But does that actually make a difference, or is it just a misconception that you need to be creative, like you need to have something eye catchy in the beginning of the essay before going into the details?
I don't think it's more, I think it's more of, I won't say it's a misconception. I think it's a creative way to move forward, definitely, because it does, like, if there's an eye catching statement, people would tend to like remember you more. But I don't think it's necessary, because if like you have the content to prove the fact that your qualifications, you have the content and the passion that probably shows from your essays, then it doesn't matter whether you begin with a creative line or an eye catching line. I think what they're trying to see is that how passionate are you, how passionate, are you to move forward with probably helping other women in tech, and how passionate are you about this entire cause. So I think it should just show from your essays. That's more important. But definitely an eye-catching line would probably put you over the top, because it would help you get remembered properly, because they'd be like, okay, this person must, I remember this person because she structured her essays in such a manner. So I won't say that it's necessary, but definitely a good skill to have. And about the story thing that you said, like structuring your essays as a story. Now, again, it kind of depends on writing styles. I know a lot of my friends who are really great writers, but who don't begin their story and their essays through a story kind of format. They would rather begin it with, a hard fact, and then probably move on from that fact. So I don't think it's important to begin it with a story, but it depends. If you're a more creative and emotional person, you probably tend to go towards a story kind of format. Or like if you're more of a statistics and facts kind of person, then you would rather state that in your essay. So it depends on how you are as a person and how your writing skill is.
Yeah. Moving on. Regarding the resume, what advice come to your mind that would help the aspirant to create a resume that stands out?
Hmm. All right. So I think one thing that should, I'll just talk about the things that I usually have seen resumes having. I think first of all, I've seen resumes having like a lot of text. Now, it's important, like text in a paragraph style of way, and rather people don't use the word bullet points. So a resume should be like a presentation, right? People should just be able to skim over it and should see like the important keywords coming out of it. So ensure that your resume contains keywords of the experience that you've collected or the projects that you're talking about. Then your resume should probably be in bullet points when you're talking about any text format. So if you're writing one particular experience that you have, the other content should be like, in bullet points explaining the project and what your contribution was in that project. That's very important. Try to back it up with statistics when you're talking about projects, or like, any kind of experience in which you created, like you enhanced performance or improved performance, or like, in general, um, try to back it up with facts or statistics, like I improved the model's performance by 96%, or I used, and like try to talk more about the skills and frameworks that you probably used in that project, because they're trying to look at keywords, like, okay, if this person, if I'm looking for a web developer's job, then the person who's hiring a web developer will look for keywords like HTML, CSS, React, and like, any other backend frameworks. So they're looking specifically for keywords. So ensure that your resume contains keywords. Second thing that I would say is that do not make your resume really compact. I would say make it like, there should be spaces in between. Do not just fill your resume with a lot of content. Ensure that only the important things that represent you are present in your resume. So if you're looking for a web developer's job, but you're writing about the fact that you volunteered for your university's fest, now I don't think both of them are related in any manner. So ensure that your resume contains the skills that, like, are going to help you forward in that field. If you're talking about, like, you came first in a dramatics competition, but you're applying for a machine learning kind of course or a summer school, so it doesn't correlate, right? Now, it's a really good achievement. I'm not trying to like diminish that kind of achievement, and but it's a very good achievement, but I don't think it matters in this position. I don't think they're looking for dramatic skills. So try to ensure that your skills correlate with the job application that you're trying to apply for. And another thing that I would talk about is that ensure that your sections, it's very neat. Your resume is very neat so that, like, it's appealing to the eye. The first thing that you do is you look at the structure that your resume is following. And if you feel that your resume is too cluttered and it's not neat, then I don't, like, no one would want to like look over the resume. They would rather, like, forget it. Even if you have the qualifications, they wouldn't go over it. So ensure that it's neat and it's, like, not very cluttered. It's like, it has spaces in between. You're able to identify keywords. You can bold in, or like you can make it italics. Try to make it as organized as possible. So like if you're doing a research experience, the name of the research institute, and then you could call about research supervisor. Even if you don't have a research supervisor and you're working towards like a corporate internship, you could write who managed you, like who your manager was, who you worked under. So like, so that they know ki, okay, this person worked under this person, and this person is like a good representative of that company. So they can, like, go back towards, like, reverse engineer your resume, if that's a thing. Like, you can check references, check your LinkedIn, check the person who you're working under as well, that person's qualified. So all of this matters. And another thing that I would like to say would be that your projects, I think I covered that. You can add another section of like skills. And if you're adding publications, ensure that, like, it's in proper format. Like the name of the person, the name of all your contributors, name of the where it was accepted, name of the entire publication. Awards and honors, always keep that another section, because a lot of the like, universities and corporate internships like to look at the awards that you've like, won. So I think that should definitely be another section. And also, do not end up writing, I've seen this in a lot of resumes while, like, going over them for the or like when I was going over them for the Adobe Wit Scholarship. Like, a lot of people applied and they asked me to go review their resume. I saw that people ended tended to write things like, I contributed to this GitHub repository. Now, while this is a really great achievement that you are contributing to stuff, but I don't think it's that great of an achievement to showcase on your resume, or like things like, I did so many Git pulls, or like, it is an achievement, but it should stay on your GitHub, and the person would go over the GitHub if it's a coding internship. So people tend to look into your GitHub and open source communities, other stuff as well. So ensure that you're being able to contribute to open source as well, because a lot of people do look at the fact that you're giving back to community, and it's important as well. So probably enhance your open source skills, and do not just put the things that are important to you. Do not put things that like you think are important and like other people would be impressed by, but I don't think it belongs in a resume. It would rather belong in a CV. That's the difference between a resume and a CV, that a CV is supposed to be everything that you did in your life, and a resume should only highlight the important things in your life, right? So that's one of the important things as well. And yeah, I think another advice is that you can always ask your seniors, like people who are in your college and have gotten good opportunities, or like even seniors through LinkedIn or somewhere else. And not only that, I think a lot of people do offer this to review your resumes, right? I think I did see a lot of people on LinkedIn asking, like offering to review people's resumes and helping them out in the entire process. So I think it's a good step to get it reviewed by one of your seniors, or like one of good like corporate recruiters or corporate internship, people who are already doing the job. I think it's a good thing to like get them to review it before applying it, because then they can give you the small pointers that probably would either make you distinct in the entire process, or they would like help you make it much more cleaner in a way that they know, since they've gotten in, they know how to probably crack the entire system. So yeah.
So, according to you, what were the main aspects in your application that stood out and helped you win the scholarship?
Right. Okay, so I'm like, according to me, I think I was really honest in my entire essays application. I was in the fact that like even the things that really hurt me, or like I think there were questions in which they wanted to know how a situation affected you as a woman or something like that. I'm not particularly sure about that question because it's been a long time since I wrote the essay, but I do remember the fact that I was very honest in the entire thing. I did not try to fake anything. I think that's what made me really distinct. So while going through a few of the applicants through the Adobe Women in Tech Scholarship, I realized a lot of them had very similar essays. Like, I think either the way had very similar answers to all of those questions. And I realized that either, like, I'm not saying that their experiences were trivial. I don't think they may have, like, gone all the way back and tried to remember the actual instance in which, like, that caused them to probably gain that perseverance that they did. So I would say, like, while everyone has their own unique experiences, but I think what matters is the experiences that make you distinct, the experience that are way more personal to you. I think that's what makes you stand out in the entire process. So that is the one thing that I think made me stand out. The other thing I think was my resume in general. I had a lot of research experience. I had gained I was working in two internships, and at the same time I think I had already published a paper at a workshop at a top tier conference. So I think that may have made me a bit more distinct in itself also. From the teacher that I got it from may have made me a bit more distinctive. All of these are like, since they're part of the application process, I think all of these counts, and all of them are as important, because the letter of recommendation tells you how a referee managed to talk to you. Talked about you. So the one thing that I realized, that a lot of people, the way that their teachers drafted it, or the way that they took the letter of recommendations, was not the most ideal way to go forward, because they ended up taking it from their HODs instead of people who actually knew them in their class. So I think that personal touch is what missing in the entire process. references and letter of recommendations. Another thing that could happen is that the probably the way that it's structured, it could be like, the teacher that you're probably asking to do it may not be like, good at conveying things, or they may just write a few sentences. So ensure that like, your teachers know how important this entire internship or the entire scholarship is for you, so they like, draft it in a better manner, or like, ask them probably if like, another teacher could probably review it for them. I know it kind of doesn't work that way, but like, it's worth a shot if you can do it, if you're not that confident about that teacher's writing skills. But yeah, I think these were a few points that may have like, distinguished me. Of course, the interviews going well is also important. So yeah.
So, like, let me be sure, is there an interview round also?
Yes. So after the application process, they shortlist a lot of candidates, and then those candidates are then called for an interview. And it kind of depends how many interviews you're going through. I myself had gone through 3 interviews. The first interview, I'll just talk a bit about the interview. The first interview was by an I think by an employee at Adobe, and that person was not that related to my field. I worked on natural language processing, and while he was into machine learning, but I think he worked more into another aspect of machine learning. So my first interview was like quite brief. It was just 30 minutes of interviews, and at the same time, he just talked more about like, what my project, like what my favorite project was, and how like, if I could describe it. He asked me an introduction of myself, and it wasn't a lot. He just be very thorough with your resume. Do not fake experiences, because they do ask about everything that is present in your resume, every small detail, and you may have to explain concepts. So ensure that when you're getting preparing for your interview, you know everything that's present in your resume, and the fact that you should be able to confidently deliver like, what you have done. Body language. So ensure that you're very confident during interviews as well. And I think that's what happened in my first interview. The second interview that I took was, I think from another employee at Adobe, but she was way more closer to my field. She worked exactly at the things that I worked on, like the topics. So I think it was more of a technical interview, the second one. The first one was more general for me, and the second interview was more technical. The third interview in itself was again a technical interview, but I think it was a different kind of interview because he was trying to probably rile me up and like ask me questions about my work specifically. He gave me a lot of pointers how to improve my work as well, and in general it was really nice because I learned a lot. One advice that I would give you is that after the interviews, when they ask, I think it's good to ask a question to the interviewer, because it shows that you actually gained a lot from that interview experience, and that you're asking a follow-up question to the interviewer. Either it could be about Adobe's experience, like Adobe's culture, um, and Adobe's work culture is of course one important thing to ask about, but something about like probably your work and your feedback about the interview or anything. So I think it's important to ask a question also that makes you a bit distinct from the other candidates.
So, finally, clearing different levels, going through the interviews, and finally getting the scholarship. Could you share your experience being an intern at the Adobe?
Yeah, sure. So I interned at Adobe in the summer of 2022, and it was 2 months in, it was a 3 months internship, and it got extended for me because my project will continue till September. But in general, I think it was an amazing experience because I learned a lot from the people I worked under my research supervisors, under my mentors. I worked since I was an MDSR intern. MDSR stands for Media Data Science and Research Lab intern. So I worked primarily on integrating explainability with reinforcement learning. And I was new to the entire concept of reinforcement learning, but they gave me enough time to catch up. They gave me enough time to learn all those concepts. So that was really great for me. And I think because I think in an internship it's very important to learn as well. So for me, it was a win-win situation, definitely. Another thing that I learned was how much initiative counts. Like it doesn't matter that they give you like a week to finish the project, but if you can do it faster, probably do your entire work faster. Not only does it give enthusiasm to every single intern, but it gives enthusiasm to the mentor in general because they're like, okay, these people are really interested in the topic, so they would like to finish it up as soon as possible and they would like to see results. So it's that enthusiasm, that initiativeness that also matters. And in general, I think the Adobe culture was amazing because, first of all, I'm a person who really loves swags because, well, who doesn't? So the swags were amazing, and I think the entire HR team was amazing because it was very smooth. And the entire process of there were, I think there were lots and lots of these in these events in which it was very interactive. So I think we talked with the CEO also. There was an entire session in which the CEO had come and we had a discussion with him regarding his entire journey at Adobe. And there were lots and lots of these events in which there were very senior members at Adobe who came and who described how the culture at Adobe was, described their work, described opportunities at Adobe. So that was a very important thing because it teaches you how to probably progress at Adobe. And not only that, it teaches you what all work is being done in at Adobe. So if that particular position is not good enough for you, so you can transition to a better position that well aligns with your interests. So I think there were very interactive sessions, interactive swags. So it totally made working at that internship really exciting because you were rewarded for doing something great. And everything was just amazing.
Okay, so keeping the scholarship apart, I would like to ask you, how did you get into the field of artificial intelligence? And you are computer science engineering undergraduate, and the syllabus would be limited, and being able to publish a lot of papers, getting into research, getting interested in the vast field of AI. How did you get into it? Like, what
Right.
was the inspiration, and how did you get your mentorship and all?
So basically, how I got into artificial intelligence as a fluke. It was not a prepared decision on my part. I just remember that after I gave my JE and the entire competitive exams thing after my grade 12, I remember being a bit I was just done with studies at that point of time, and I just wanted to have fun. I think I'm going to put it that way. I just wanted to enjoy life for a while. So my first semester, I did not do anything except probably join a few intercultural clubs and do dramatics and had truly enjoy that college experience. That's what I did in my first semester. But I think in during my second semester, I was that unfortunate batch in which COVID had struck. So I had to go back home. But then I realized that I knew that I was passionate about computer science, but then I realized other people around me, I think it was a bit of insecurity in that field that I wasn't working towards my passion. So then I just okay, I'm going to do something by myself. I'm going to take some initiative. And while I do the intercultural things as well, I want to go forward in the technical side. I want to gain some expertise. So I think that desperate of falling behind and that insecurity, it was the one that pushed me forward, probably achieve something in my second semester. And then I realized that I just randomly took a topic in computer science. I'm okay, I'm going to try every single field, but let me just go ahead with the first one. And the first one I chose was artificial intelligence, and I really loved that. But that didn't stop me from exploring other fields. I think that's the one thing that I'm going to ask everyone to do as well, is that look into web development. I looked into web development as well. I looked into app development as well. And then it's only after I had exhausted all my options that I landed back to the first thing that I'd started with. So that gave me kind of perspective that okay, this kind of way, I've tried every single thing. I know that it's not well suited for me. While I do enjoy coding and I do enjoy the technical side of things, I am not as focused, or like I'm not as enthusiastic as anything while working on artificial intelligence. So I think that gave me that kind of push that I needed. So that was really great. And yeah, so I think that's how my entire journey started. And then after that, it was just a series of clubs and societies at college that I joined in order to increase my technical expertise. And that pushed me towards research because there was this research organization in my college, and I had really great seniors. I think that was another one of my points, that they really pushed me. They really supported me throughout my entire journey, and I definitely owe them a lot of things.
So throughout the interview, you said you had a lot of projects. So most of us would be like are clueless about how to do the project, how to get started. So do you have any advice for that? How to get started with the journey of projects and doing something like that, especially doing projects?
Okay. One thing that I would suggest is that, first of all, probably choose a stream that you want to do projects in. So if you're interested in web development, I think the first thing that you're supposed to do is build a foundation. Learn the skills that are required to excel in web development. It could be like HTML, CSS. Start with the basics. Go ahead and learn other frameworks, React Native. And then when you're looking at things, maybe you could look at GitHub and look at any basic projects that you could probably perform. You could just type on Google any basic projects that you can create. And then you can look at any basic websites that you can create. When you're looking into arting, you'll find an abundance of projects. When you're looking into basic web projects, they tell you what are the basic projects, and you're just supposed to do basic it gives you this kind of exposure that you after that, in general, you could look into, like, if you're interested in ML, you could look into whether you want to go into the data science team or follow the field. Then, like, you could explore more options and then move on to, like, maybe asking your seniors for suggestions. One thing that I've seen another friend of mine has done is that he reverse engineered the entire thing. He looked at the company that was well aligned to his interest, and he moved backward from there. He started with the well aligned to his interest, and he moved backward from there. He started in a way, but I think that that really constricts your growth, because like, the first thing that you should do is like, understand what your interest is, because then you should give you an idea, but it shouldn't be your exact journey. So I would suggest, like, looking into something else, looking into, other things as well. Those would be one of my advices.
Okay, so before winding up, is there
I
anything
think
else
one
you
thing
want
that
to
I
tell
wanted
the
to tell
five
the
viewers? Like
viewers would
anything?
be
Because
that,
we are all questions
first
in.
of all, be very perseverant towards your goals. To the top. But I think one thing that differentiates you from others is procrastination. As struggling to get there is your procrastination. If you just and even if it's that's like further, that's one of the things. If like it's just jumping into the what I'm going to say, because like the fear. So definitely just take that leap of faith and just like go into it. That would be one of my advices. And yeah, don't be scared of things. From a person who's really scared and underconfident to a person right now who's speaking in front of all of you, I think it was a very long journey. I was really scared to, like, do this spontaneous kind of interview that we're doing right now. I haven't prepared anything. I'm speaking, like, randomly right now from my own experiences. And I was really scared of doing that because I'm a very prepared person. And, like, I like to prepare for things beforehand, and, like, just like anticipate what questions are going to be asked and everything. But I think one of the things that I realized on the process, like, while doing the entire thing, was that I had to face my fears. I had to go about being unprepared and, like, just face it. And I realized that I'm a good speaker. That's one of the skills that came out of it. So I'm just going to say this, that, don't be scared. Just be very different from what you, like, perceived in your head. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Priti. It was a wonderful session I had. I learned a lot, and I hope the viewers would find it very informative and enriching. Thank you so much for taking your time and spending it with us. So, hope you have a
Thank you,
good.
Miriam. I think it was a great talk, and thank you for this entirely smooth process. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Me too. Thank you. Hoping to see you soon.
Bye.